Tonight, the province moves to expand the powers of the mayor of Toronto.
This, from the sounds of it, would be fairly unprecedented for Canadian mayors.
The mayors of Toronto and Ottawa will have the option to veto city council motions under the province's new strong mayor system. Plus,
we expect a large procession of motorcycles.
Toronto police brace for the arrival of hundreds of bikers for a Hells Angel procession. And
we are actively working with security from Canada's Wonderland.
A dozen teens have been charged in a series of coordinated swarming attacks near a popular tourist destination. Good evening, I'm Farah Morali. Mayor Tory and the mayor of Ottawa could soon have more influence. It's all part of a Ford government plan to transform big city mayors into what's called a strong mayor, giving them new powers to overrule some members of council. Reaction to the move is mixed. Chris Glover has more.
Premier Doug Ford from the provincial legislature once again declaring a major change for city governance.
I just think it's the right thing to do, since all the responsibility falls on the mayor.
Ford says he'll create a strong mayor system in Toronto and Ottawa, giving those mayors a veto power.
We'll do a trial and we'll look at the rest of the mayors of relatively large cities.
Ford says the new mayoral authority could be overruled by 2/3 of council.
Things get bogged down around here. I think people do understand that.
In Brampton, Mayor Patrick Brown isn't part of this proposal yet, but currently half the councillors are against him and avoiding city meetings like they did today.
I can appreciate why he would want to go that direction. You know, here I have a situation where I've got some councillors on vacation and I can't conduct a city meeting. And so if there was more powers available to mayors to move the city agenda forward, I would welcome that.
The provincial municipal affairs minister says the new power will help build housing faster.
I can't imagine going any faster that would be comfortable for community members.
Councillor Shelley Carroll isn't buying the justification for a strong mayor system.
In cities where it works because there is a party system. And I know from many years of conversations that Torontonians don't want a party system in City Hall.
A strong mayor system has been in practice in Chicago for years, and Ford, a former Chicago resident, has written about his desire for it.
This, from the sounds of it, would be fairly unprecedented for Canadian mayors.
York University's Zach Spicer says a specific housing or transit veto could help Toronto.
A veto over everything I think would be unlikely, but if they go that way, I would have some concerns about that personally. But I think that's probably the downside. But overall, I mean, I don't think this is like a sky is falling moment.
In 2018, Ford received blowback for cutting Toronto City Council in half in the middle of a city election campaign. The NDP says that mid-election meddling is happening again, while enhancing spending isn't on things like transit and mental health.
All of those calls have gone unanswered by this premier, and now he's coming up with something all new by himself and cooked up unilaterally. It's a very anti-democratic move.
And there's a motion here at City Hall from Councillor Josh Matlow calling on councillors to vote against Doug Ford's strong mayor plan. But even if every single councillor were to vote against Doug Ford's plan, he could still go ahead and do it anyway. Still, Josh Matlow says that this motion could send a clear and decisive message from the councillors here to the Premier's office, and he said that could be influential. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police are warning the public about a biker procession set to take place in Toronto tomorrow. They say the unsanctioned event is a memorial ride for a Hells Angel leader. Dale Manukduk has the story.
We expect a large procession of motorcycles, mainly consisting of members of the Hells Angels, but also members of the public who are motorcycle enthusiasts, to make its way along the highways and city streets.
Police say they have been in ongoing communication with the group to get a sense of what they intend to do. The expectation is that they'll ride southbound on the 404, crossing the 401 onto the DVP, and then exiting on Lakeshore Boulevard East, finally ending up here on Carlaw Avenue. You already see there are some barricades put in place to help manage traffic flow. The expectation is that traffic delays will begin at 11 a.m. and then continue throughout the day. Road closures will be in effect in the Lakeshore and Carlaw area. Police are asking that people avoid traveling there and to make alternate plans. They're expecting anywhere from 800 to 1,000 riders. Meanwhile, this weekend, a Durham-based chapter of the Hells Angels are hosting a 3-day-long event.
There's a significant difference between what is known to be planned for the events on the weekend in Durham Region and what we believe is going to occur tomorrow in the city.
Earlier this week, Durham police noted that the motorcycle club is an organized crime group responsible for drug and human trafficking, among other offenses. But one expert says the once racist, white-only organization has evolved over the years, and the Toronto procession will be different from what people may expect.
I think they're going to be surprised that it's just not going to be a wild thing. It's not going to be 1965 in California and people running around going crazy. It's going to be sort of like Shriners on two wheels.
Gil Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police have made 4 arrests, including 2 youths in an early June homicide. 24-year-old Javante Daly was killed in a shooting near Lawrence Avenue East and Markham Road on June 8th. Police arrived to find the man behind a plaza with life-threatening injuries, where he died on scene. 19-year-olds Jamar Bernard and Emmanuel Katengi have been charged with first-degree murder. 2 16-year-olds are also facing first-degree murder charges. Their names can't be released under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. A 26-year-old man from Vaughan has been arrested in connection to a shooting that happened near the Scotiabank Arena over the weekend. Nirasan Shakespearathas has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. 24-year-old Stephen Little McClacken was pronounced dead at the scene. It happened Saturday just after 7:30 near Bremner and York Streets and forced Union Station to shut down when a suspect ran inside. Police have said they believe the shooting was targeted. And a homicide investigation has begun in Brampton after a man's body was found inside a house this morning.
Located an adult male outside of the residence, at which time he was taken into custody. A second male was located inside the residence, suffering from blunt force trauma. Life-saving efforts were commenced at the scene. However, the male was pronounced deceased.
Police had few details to share about the relationship between the 2 men, and Peel's Homicide and Missing Persons unit is taking over the case. Officers did describe what happened as an isolated incident, adding that there is no concern for public safety. So far, the charges against the men in custody have not been released. Well, last year, the Ontario government passed legislation that would require long-term care homes to have air conditioning by the end of June. Well, that deadline has now passed, but 15% of homes still don't have AC. And on a day like today, residents are feeling it. Meg Roberts has the story.
It's just horrible.
J.C. Ruhala's 77-year-old father is in private long-term care home in North York. He has COVID-19 and is isolated to a room without air conditioning. The window opens just a crack. With above 30-degree temperatures, Ruhala is worried about his health and others.
Everything from the sounds of people crying to the smells to the sweat, and it's just so uncomfortable.
He's living in one out of the 90 homes that doesn't have full air conditioning in Ontario, despite the Ontario government passing legislation last year that would make it mandatory by June 22nd of this year. Ruhala says the home has told her it can't finish putting an AC unit in because of the COVID-19 outbreak.
I'm feeling really angry with the government, and that, it was a broken promise that he ensured that all long-term care centers and homes would have air conditioning, and he didn't provide that.
The Ministry of Long-Term Care says 537 of 627 long-term care homes are fully air-conditioned. Of those that are not fully air-conditioned, 57 are for-profit, 25 are non-profit, and 8 are municipally operated. It says global supply chain issues are affecting air conditioning unit delivery timelines, as well as visitor restrictions with COVID-19, weather issues, and in some cases, structural issues.
Give me a break. Give me a break. I'm so tired of excuses. I can go to Canadian Tire right now and get a Dyson. And I know that
some LTC advocates aren't having it and say it's incredibly dangerous to older adults living in these conditions, as well as the staff.
I'm hearing accounts from staff who tell me directly that they have near fainted while on shift, working in those conditions, let alone the residents having to live in those conditions. I think this is just evidence of systemic failure.
Ruhala says she's unsure as to when her father will get an air-conditioned room, but in the meanwhile wants government officials to experience the heat themselves.
Come and spend 2 hours in a home, in a closed wing, and feel the same fear and worry and anxiety of coming in there and don all the PPE and sit there and sweat.
Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, it has been another day of heat and humidity here in Toronto, the city extending the heat warning. This afternoon, people headed to the Alex Duff Memorial Pool at Christie Pitts Park for a refreshing dip.
But I like the hot water. It's a very short time of year, so we should really get out and enjoy it as much as possible, especially coming to the pool on a beautiful day like this.
You know, doing daily tasks, going to work, you know, traveling, it makes it much more harder and definitely takes a toll.
But when it's hot weather, it's nice to swim and cool off in the water.
The water temperature is perfect. So I'll be here till 6:45 when they close. I'm doing a full shift.
Well, he'll be happy to know that the pool will be open later tonight. The city is extending hours to help people stay cool during this heat wave. 7 outdoor pools will stay open until 11:45. You can head to the city's website for more details. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. Colette, lots of active weather today winding down through the GTA as those storms move east.
Yeah, just a very busy day with those strong storms that have lined up along that cold front, tornado warnings at times, and we've certainly had severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. So the line continues eastward. We are beginning to get into more improvement across the GTA and east, but still carrying on with some stronger cells. However, once we lose the daytime heating, you know, once the sun set earlier, we do tend to lose some of that energy that sort of helps those fire up. But still very strong winds associated with these, with some of those gusts to exceeding 100 kilometers an hour as they've moved through the afternoon and evening hours and now carrying on into eastern Ontario. So what is ahead? Well, a few isolated showers are possible even into early tomorrow morning into the GTA at around the Golden Horseshoe, and then we should see more clearing and just getting into some sunshine. Now, will there be relief if that's what you're looking for from the heat? Well, the cold front does bring the temperatures back down from readings like this and humidity like this from this afternoon to more comfortable levels, at least for one day. So overnight 21, still pretty humid, but tomorrow 29 and at least only feeling like we're in the low 30s instead of close to 40. Farah.
Thanks, Colette. York Regional Police have arrested 12 teenagers for a number of swarming-style robberies. They happened near Canada's Wonderland over the last month. And as Ali Chiasson tells us, police say these attacks are coordinated.
With these swarming robberies, you see a group of teenagers target someone in a parking lot. They will crowd that person, push them around, intimidate them, and eventually rob the victim. Police say they'll take anything off of that person: wallet, cash, jewelry, cell phones. Police say this has been happening primarily in the area around Canada's Wonderland, which is just across the street here. They say the suspects will wait until the park closes and patrons will walk across the street to a plaza like this one to grab a bite to eat or to hail a ride home, and that's when they will allegedly pounce. So this has been happening frequently enough this summer that York Regional Police has launched a large-scale investigation that they dubbed Operation Behave. And they've arrested 12 people so far. They're not done yet.
We officially launched an Operation Behave project Canada Day weekend. And since we've had a heightened police presence and increased our proactive patrol in the area, since we launched the project that weekend, we haven't had any more incidences. We are actively working with security from Canada's Wonderland, also the businesses and community members within the area.
So York Regional Police have arrested 12 people, the youngest of whom is just 13 years old, and they all face a slew of charges, including theft and mischief. Now, I spoke to a couple of witnesses. They work in one of the restaurants at this plaza, and what they describe seeing is quite violent.
Well, usually it's just a lot of kids from Wonderland come at night and they just cause a lot of trouble in the parking lot. They'll just be bothering customers from different stores or robbing people, jumping on cars, kicking in car doors, stuff like that.
In light of this, York Regional Police are telling parents to have a conversation with their kids, especially if they're going to be dropping them off at Canada's Wonderland unsupervised. Talk to them about being aware of their surroundings and discourage any loitering at the plazas around here. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Vaughan.
Welcome back. The mercury continues to soar in much of the country. Heat warnings have been issued for parts of Ontario, and a hot spell is moving into British Columbia. Officials in that province say high temperatures over the next few days will make it more difficult to fight a wildfire near Lytton. The fire has been burning for almost a week. It now covers more than 20 square kilometers. At least 8 structures have been destroyed. And the extreme heat is building in Europe, and so is the struggle to cope. After 2 days of record-setting heat in the UK, the country is now dealing with the aftermath.
Yesterday was the busiest day for the fire service in London since the Second World War.
The London Fire Service received more than 2,600 calls yesterday. On a normal day, it would get about 350. Fire has now become a major problem as other parts of Europe continue to bake. Hundreds of firefighters have been called out to battle flames in the northern suburbs of Athens. Several neighborhoods have been evacuated. It's the latest area to be hit by wildfires. You are looking at a live shot of downtown Toronto. Right now it is 25 degrees, feeling like 32 with the humidity. Not much of a reprieve from a hot, sticky day. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. Colette, some sticky nights we've had in recent days. Any relief in sight?
Yeah, we're finally getting there. You know, one of the things we talked about, the strong storms along that cold front, but that cold front leading edge of new air mass moving in. It's not going to have much of a difference in southwestern Ontario, a little bit with the humidity, but we will find around the Golden Horseshoe and into eastern Ontario, the humidity and temperatures kind of dropping down a little bit. A few isolated showers on Thursday possible. Otherwise, we get into clearing into the afternoon and sunshine. A small dip in those temps, so we'll take it back closer to seasonal, and the humidity values not up around 40, but in the lower 30s. And weekend rain chances, well, yes. Now, for southwestern Ontario, a risk Saturday and Sunday, the greater chance being Sunday. And for Toronto, I'm seeing that risk again for the second half of the weekend more so. So just kind of be watching that and planning accordingly, and we'll see as we get closer to it. But now look at the storms pushing through eastern sections of Ontario, and then stuff behind the wraparound is just some isolated shower activity that does linger into tomorrow morning. Very isolated, meaning just a few pop-ups here and there. Most cases, most folks, you will stay on the dry side of things, and then clearing into the afternoon with a lot of sunshine, a little bit breezy the early part of the day. We've had very strong winds as that front is passing through, but we'll find those winds easing by tomorrow, kind of midday towards the afternoon, so becoming more comfortable and a better feel to that air mass too. Look at those winds then, just to illustrate along the north shore of Lake Ontario as they pass on by. And then here we are, your overnight temperatures. I've said how the heat warnings aren't just about the daytime highs, they're about the overnight lows too, and they're still up there, upper teens to low 20s, and we're finding that's still the case tonight. But as we get a little deeper into this new air mass, that's when it becomes, okay, it's only slightly more comfortable, but upper teens for Toronto by tomorrow night. But tomorrow, 29, feeling 32, 33. Friday, heating back up, and we'll find the humidity building as well as we head into Saturday.
Thanks, Colette. When you think of what makes a great basketball coach, experimental fluid dynamics isn't usually the first thing that comes to mind. But that's exactly what the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors G League team specializes in. Greg Ross has the details.
This is 33-year-old Eric Curry, the new head coach of the Raptors 905. He's never been a head coach at any level before this. In fact, the highest level the Toronto native achieved as a player was high school basketball.
For as long as I can remember, I've loved basketball.
The thought of working in the sport was not even a consideration while studying for a master's degree in experimental fluid dynamics at the University of Toronto. But he says the two fields actually have more in common than you might think.
You can go very basic and say, let's go Newton's principal laws, right? If you don't know the very basics of physics, you're not going to be able to expand onto all the amazing equations that will come out of it. And I think it's very similar to basketball. If you don't know the basic fundamentals, you can design all these amazing, intricate plays, but nothing good will come out of them if you can't execute the principles.
He's a brilliant mind. The Raptors 905 believe that what Corey lacks in experience, he makes up for with intelligence. He's also had the opportunity to work with the Raptors analytics team for 5 years before moving behind the bench as an assistant coach.
He's been able to assist coaches to having, best records and winning championships. So he's got enough experience around him that he's been able to take from.
Curry says to get his foot in the door with the Raptors, he opened a Twitter account and he used it to connect with the people who were handling the team's analytics.
I was trying to get in touch with the Raptors, but I didn't necessarily know how. So I had a friend of mine, Griff, who told me, oh, I follow a guy on Twitter who does analytics for the Raptors. So I started a Twitter account and I tweeted at him, and the tweet turned into an email, the email turned into a coffee, and the coffee turned into an internship.
Little did that friend Griff know that his advice would lead to such a long and successful career with the team they grew up cheering for.
It's pretty special to see somebody down there, first of all, just essentially being paid to sit courtside, which was my first jealousy, but also just, impressing people and moving up the ranks.
One of those people he's been able to impress is Raptors coach Nick Nurse, who he will now be developing players for.
I haven't been able to work for Coach Nurse and with Coach Nurse for almost 10 years now. It gave me a solid understanding of his philosophies on both ends of the court and also off the court. So being able to bring that mindset to some of the younger guys who are hoping to take that next step in their career and contribute to winning as a Toronto Raptor, I can impart that wisdom.
The Raptors 905 begin their season in November. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Finally tonight, it may be summer, but that just means it's road hockey season. A national team star grabbed a stick today to promote the annual Road Hockey to Conquer Cancer tournament.
30 fundraising teams actually get the chance to draft a celebrity ambassador like myself, so we're very excited to be here to be competing and also raising money for an incredible cause.
Sarah Nurse has 2 Olympic medals playing on Team Canada. She's pushing teams to sign up for the annual fundraiser. The event is organized by the Princess Margaret Cancer Center.
You don't have to be a hockey player. You could be the first time you've ever picked up a stick. You just have to have some friends, have some heart, want to have some fun, and come out and support an amazing cause.
The official tournament will run on October 1st, so there is still time to dust off the hockey gear and get in some practice. Well, that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We leave you now with some shots of the Toronto skyline as lightning passed through the city. I'm Farah Morali. Good night.